we're going to go straight into football. And I think Phil Egan is standing by. Good morning to you, Phil.
How you doing, lads? How are you getting on?
Phil, this is a brand new feature that, depending on the success of it now over the next few minutes, is going to either be a one-off or come into your screens every Friday morning. And it's about the must-watch, might watch, or won't watch for the weekend.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at Phil Egan's must-watch list here, and it's pretty much got everything on it.
Yeah, well, I think, honestly, I could actually make a case to watch every game, because the way things are, obviously, we've no fans there, so they've rescheduled things to suit the TV companies. So you could actually sit there and watch every game. You could actually watch every game, and there's a few there where you might take off. You think, do you know what, I need to have dinner. Maybe I'll keep an eye on this one. You know, I'll pop in and out of the room to see how it's going. But yeah, honestly, I remember when there was no Premier League or there was no sport, I remember thinking at the time, when it comes back, cherish every game. You know, treat every game as the last game you might ever see. So you're there looking at Burnley, Southampton, you're thinking, I don't really want to watch that. But then you find the angle, you think there could be a few Irish lads playing in that game, I better watch that. You know, let's see, have Southampton sorted out that high defensive line, and can Burnley exploit it? You find ways to make an argument to watch any game.
Yeah, and then you get sucked into watching, like, you know, the lesser teams like Crystal Palace, Manchester United, Phil, and you question your very existence. One of those games that I think, like having spoken to Andy Mitten just a little while ago, that I think people will definitely be interested to see is obviously the lunchtime start tomorrow. Brighton against Manchester United, and the big question mark about it, I mean, I'd give us your take on why we should be watching it, but for me, it's, are United the United we saw last week, or is there another kick in them?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually, I think this is a nice fixture for United, in the fact that what Palace did so well last week was they sat there, they sat in their shape, and they hit United on the break. But Brighton, since Graham Potter's come in, obviously a complete change in approach to what Chris Hughton was trying to do. And, you know, obviously they're into their second season under Potter, and you saw signs against Chelsea. Obviously they absolutely ripped Newcastle apart last week. He wants his teams to play on the front foot, play possession football. Now, that's all well and good, but if you're playing against teams like Manchester United, United have the pace and power on the counter-attack to find gaps. And you just even think back to the game last season, that Bruno Fernandes goal in the second half, where a ball's put in, Harry Maguire wins a header, Matic sprays a ball out towards the wing, Mason Greenwood fires in across, Bruno Fernandes volleys it in. Brilliant goal, brilliant counter-attacking goal. That's when United are at their best. This is something they've done so well under Solskjaer, when they are able to sit in and hit teams on the counter-attack, because a criticism that United have had is when they have to break teams down, they can be a bit predictable. Donny van de Beek said it last week after the Palace game. Obviously, he made his debut. He said they were too slow. This is a guy that played for Ajax. You know, they're encouraged to obviously keep the ball on the deck, play one touch, quick, fast-moving football. And he was probably a bit too honest after the game last week. And obviously, he made his first start against Luton in the League Cup during the week, so it'll be interesting to see if he's in the team. But no, I actually think this is a game that'll suit United. But the reason you watch it, though, is if United don't win, then we see nowadays, obviously, in modern football, one bad result can cause a meltdown. So if United were to lose the first two games of the season in the Premier League, it would be a serious meltdown.
Yeah, like that's one reason to watch it. It's in your must-watch list. But also, I think Brighton are going to be one of the teams to watch all season long. Unbelievably exciting to look at the first couple of weeks. You can definitely say the same about Everton. Everton go to Crystal Palace tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and this is also in your must-watch list,
Yeah,
Phil. Are you believing the Everton hype?
It's a top-of-the-table clash, this. Crystal Palace and Everton. Two teams that have won their opening two games, and this would be a good test for Everton, because I just mentioned it there with Palace. We know how they're going to play. They're going to sit in and basically say to Everton, can you break us down? And we're going to see, can Dominic Calvert-Lewin continue his scoring streak of the one-touch goals? That's what Ancelotti's trying to get him to do. Yeah, absolutely. It was a great stat that Ancelotti threw out there after the win over West Brom last week, where more than 200 goals that Inzaghi scored were with one touch. And Calvert-Lewin's already 4 goals in. I'm thinking, is he going to win the Golden Boot? I don't know. But there was signs when Duncan Ferguson took temporary charge of Everton and he put Calvert-Lewin in there with not in a lone role, because Calvert-Lewin's always been quite mobile and he's not afraid to put himself about. But Richarlison complements him very well. And obviously, James Rodriguez, You just saw even in the first week when they played against Spurs, some of the touches from him. He obviously scored last week, and happily he recovered from that blow that he took off Kieran Gibbs. But yeah, I think there is a real buzz about Everton, and obviously Seamus Coleman has started the season well, so we want to watch that because we're now getting towards the Ireland-Slovakia game, and Stephen Kenny's going to have to make that choice again, isn't he?
For sure. My prediction here is that watch out for Richarlison over the next couple of weeks. I think he's a man ready to explode with all the chances and the positions he's been getting in, actually. Sheffield United against Leeds is 12 o'clock on Sunday. Phil, again, another one on your much-watch list. It's actually not as easy to say as you think. Leeds United are must-watch every single week, aren't they?
Yeah, well, 2-4-3, so it'd be a bad idea to skip this one. And also as well, you think back to the history behind this fixture, obviously when Leeds won the First Division title before football then reinvented itself according to the Premier League. But this was the game that clinched the league title for Leeds. The Brian Deane derby, obviously Leeds would try to probably emulate what Sheffield United did last season with a top half finish. And I think Sheffield United would like to emulate what they did last season because they've lost their first couple of games. Obviously, John Egan was sent off against Villa. I did pick Sheffield United to get relegated at the start of this season.
Good call.
Well, look, I just thought that there was signs towards the end of the season that teams are starting to work them out, and it's very hard to. You think they got 56 points. I don't think they're going to get near 56 points this season. I'm not saying they will get relegated, but I just think they'll be a bit further down, and they need to get the win. And obviously Leeds are just a breath of fresh air to watch. Whether it's good for your health if you're a Leeds fan, given the roller coaster of emotions that you're going to go through watching the games, but that's why I think they're a must-watch.
Must-listen game this week, of course, is Manchester City against Leicester City at 4:30 on Sunday. You can listen to the dulcet tones of Dave McIntyre and Kenny Cunningham calling this one. I mean, is this a foregone conclusion from Manchester City's perspective? You would have thought not, given how good Leicester were last year. But then you turned on Manchester City on Monday night and you thought to yourself, right, these guys are right in gear immediately.
Yeah, if you think of the first half against Wolves, City were on it from the start. There was a spell of about 20 minutes in the second half where Wolves caused City a lot of problems. Leicester are not going to be able to do that. I know Vardy's got a really good record in these games against top opposition, but Leicester haven't won at the Etihad since that famous win in 2016, which pretty much signalled that they were going to win the league that season. And Ndidi is out. He was obviously playing as a centre half for the first couple of games. So I think Leicester had a couple of nice fixtures to start off with. And, beating West Brom, beating Burnley, this is a different kettle of fish for Leicester. I think it'd be a comfortable enough win for Manchester City, and obviously their first home game. Yeah, I think Kevin De Bruyne is going to get a lot of space, and I could see it being a handy enough one for City.
Monday night then we've got Liverpool against Arsenal. This is obviously the must-watch feature of the weekend. We'll do a bit more on this on Monday, but you've had the spectacular knack of yarrowing away Liverpool's chances last season. How are you going to yarrow away this fixture, Phil?
I think this is a really good one in terms of what Arsenal can bring, because they haven't won at Anfield since 2012. Obviously, they beat Liverpool at the Emirates at the end of last season. I'm not saying there's an asterisk beside it, because that would be disrespectful to Arsenal. I thought Arsenal defended very well that night. A couple of mistakes Liverpool made in Alisson and Van Dijk, but Arsenal took advantage and they were able to hold firm. And obviously took better penalties than Liverpool in the Community Shield. But there is a real optimism around Arsenal, and you can even see in terms of they've kind of moved in terms of the betting for who's going to finish in the top four. They've moved ahead of Manchester United because of their start. We know that the left-hand side of the Arsenal team is where the danger is, and if people were to perceive a weakness in Liverpool, I mean, it's a minor weakness in terms of, if you look at their back four, the left side of defence is stronger than the right-hand side. That was the concern for Liverpool going in last week against Chelsea with Timo Werner. Fabinho played, and obviously you have Trent Alexander-Arnold there, but they did a fine job on Timo Werner, so they're going to be up against Aubameyang. And I think Liverpool fans are feeling a lot better after the couple of signings, and if anyone thought they wouldn't have the hunger and desire to retain this Premier League title, we knew that they'd have to, because that's just the way Jurgen Klopp or what he demands from his team. But I think Liverpool are going to want to put one over on Arsenal and just say, look, you might have beaten us last season, you got the better of us in the Community Shield, but this is the Premier League, this is our home turf, and they have had the upper hand there over the last few years, and they tend to score quite a lot of goals against Arsenal at Anfield. Might not happen on Monday night, but I would still fancy Liverpool. I think what Liverpool need to do if they want to retain this, if they can just stay ahead of City, obviously they started a week earlier. I think where City might fall down is if they're playing catch up mentally. I don't know if they'll be able to do it. I think Liverpool have shown in the last year or so that their group of players is mentally stronger than Manchester City, and if City are chasing and there's games where they can't find the breakthrough and the gap starts to widen, then maybe they think they're not going to be able to catch Liverpool.
Yeah, I've got an issue here though, Phil. That is the end of our must-watch games. We're on to might-watch here, and I see you've got West Brom against Chelsea at 5:30 tomorrow evening in your might-watch games. West Brom, 11 goals involved in the games they've already played so far this season, and all that new talent for Chelsea. How is this not a must-watch?
Well, because you know what's going to happen. Chelsea are going to win. And unless you want to see Branislav Ivanovic maybe play against his former club, we might get to see Mendy.
Yeah, I do.
We might get to see Mendy in goal. What I'm saying, you got to pace yourself. There's 10 games across the weekend. You got to pace yourself. You know, it's a 5:30 kickoff. That's kind of around the time where you start thinking of what I'm going to have for dinner on a Saturday night. Now,
lads, you're after moving this from a might watch into a must watch on the basis of 57-year-old Branislav Ivanovic. Like, come on.
Having that. Absolutely having that.
I'd imagine Eoin is going to watch every game.
Oh, like, I mean, you compare week 3 me to week 30 me. They're just like two different human beings, Phil. I hate the sport of football, never mind Premier League come next February. But right now, it's the best thing in the world. Yeah. Everything is amazing. I just hook Branislav Ivanovic to my veins is all I can say right now.
You want to see, could Kai Havertz follow up on that hat-trick against Barnsley?
Against Barnsley?
Yeah. You want to see, was that a flash in the pan, or has Kai Havertz turned the corner after being written off after 2 games?
I am salivating at that prospect. And also, 7 o'clock Sunday, or is it tomorrow night, Sunday, West Ham against Wolves. Like, I mean, after David Moyes' tactical tweak against Arsenal, which almost worked a treat, he goes and gets coronavirus, he won't be there.
Yeah.
But they'll be at home to Wolves, who have looked brilliant. I mean, again, this is verging on the must-watch as well.
And I want to see how David Moyes does working from home, because if West Ham win, does he then get the option to work from home for the rest of the season, where he sits in his living room and he calls the shots on a phone, and Alan Irvine is at the touchline relaying the message to the players?
As his child runs into the background as he's working from home.
Yeah.
Shut up, I'm trying to talk to Alan here.
Could be the future. Could be the future of the Premier League.
The final might watch, which is a might listen, but a must listen really. It's Brian Kerr on the radio, which is always a must listen.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's Nathan and Brian who'll be watching Spurs against Newcastle at 2 o'clock on Sunday. And really, if Newcastle watch 5 minutes of tape of Southampton last week, they will know that they do not do that thing, which is to play a high line against Tottenham Hotspur, and they might actually have a chance of winning this thing, because they weren't half bad in week 1.
They weren't, but you kind of look at who they beat. They beat West Ham, and they only had a couple of shots on target in that game. I don't really think going forward Andy Carroll and Callum Wilson is going to scare too many defences. But I think if you look at the first half of Spurs, it was a bit of a worry. Yesterday, obviously, Jose Mourinho had to come out and get the goals changed in Macedonia. There's a bit more of a buzz about Spurs now because of the signing of Bale. Obviously, I think Reguilon's a brilliant signing, because I think Ben Davies is, he's not a bad backup to have. But I think now you have 2 attacking fullbacks, and if Spurs can get a centre half as well, there's talk of Skriniar from Inter Milan. If they got that, then they have a more solid back four. Obviously, I would take Eric Dyer out of that team, and to be a bit more optimism for Spurs. And obviously Gareth Bale probably won't come in until late October, but yeah, I think Newcastle games are going to be a tough watch. I would agree that this is a game I'd rather listen to than watch.
And you're not going to be watching Burnley against Southampton, which is a massive slight against Chris Wood and Danny Ings, as far as I'm concerned. And you're not going to be watching Fulham against Aston Villa as well at 5:45 on Monday, despite, of course, Conor Howard potentially playing in that game. You know, it's fine if you want to just completely disassociate yourself with Ireland. Also, as well, you said that West Brom versus Chelsea is a might watch. Well, Emma says that Arsenal against Spurs at 5:30 at the same time as that game tomorrow is a must-watch. It's the quarter-final of the Women's FA Cup. So if you want something to do instead of making your dinner, Phil, then that's what you've got.
That's a two-screen job then, yeah. Obviously, Irish eyes on the Arsenal team with Katie McCabe. Spurs have made that great acquisition with Alex Morgan as well. I mean, when people say Spurs have signed one of the greatest players to play the game, people were like, "What?" Gareth Bale's like, "No, Alex Morgan." You know, Alex Morgan is a World Cup winner. So,
can I offer the idea that Phil's won't watch list, even his might watch list, it's just fake news, lads, fake news.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, even if I'm not watching the games on the TV, I got this new gizmo for my phone, where you place the phone into it, and it props it up. So you could have it on the arm of the couch. You could be watching something else, and then that's what I was doing last night, because obviously I was watching the Liverpool game, but I was watching the Dundalk game, which was being streamed on YouTube. So I was kind of trying to watch the two of them.
I think that's it, Phil. Good man.
Thanks, lads. Enjoy.